Alright guys, Revolver Rustler here, and this is my WWE Summerslam 2015 review. A show that had a lot to live up to with the super impressive NXT Brooklyn the day prior. Will it live up to those expectations? Well, we'll find out by the end. With 10 matches scheduled in 4 hours, compared to NXT's really 2.5, with 6 matches, the thing that this show obviously had was it had more matches. But does that necessarily mean it's going to be better? It could mean there's going to be more trash, to be honest. But I'll get to the show. We start off with when the show actually starts. There was no match on the pre-show for some reason. Okay. The show starts with Jon Stewart in the ring trying to be funny. Mick Foley comes out. The segment wasn't going anywhere, but it's nice to see Mick Foley. And you know, to be honest, if that was all Jon Stewart did at SummerSlam, I'd think it was pointless of him ever hosting it. But at least he does something, and I'll get to that when we get to it, I guess. Your opening matchup, Randy Orton takes on Sheamus. Now, I was kind of bored during this, really, and I don't think this should have opened the show. I think you needed a fast-paced, quick, enjoyable, entertaining opener, like Cesaro Owens probably would have been my pick to open the show. But instead we got on Sheamus, and while this match wasn't bad, I was quite bored for the first 10 minutes. No, more like the first 7 or 8 minutes. It picked up a lot towards the end, and I'll give him credit for that. With Orton hitting Sheamus with an RKO when Sheamus goes for a shoulder block over the ropes. I always give Randy Orton credit because he always finds new ways to hit the RKO. Sheamus hits white noise, Orton kicks out. Sheamus ends up, I think, bro-kicking Randy Orton, but Randy Orton gets out of the ring. Sheamus then puts Orton back in the ring. Orton goes for an RKO out of nowhere. Sheamus pushes him into the turnbuckle, gives him a bro-kick, and then another bro-kick. So that's 3 bro-kicks he took in the end. For the 1, 2, 3, Sheamus wins. And at that point, I was just like, okay, Sheamus wins. That probably means he's in cashing in, and I was actually pretty happy. I gave him 2.5 stars, so I think they put on a decent job. It just... To me, it was boring at the beginning, and it could have used a little bit more. Well, I think maybe should have been shorter. I mean, 12 minutes for those guys, and I've seen it so many times. I've just, you know, I'm calling spots now, to be honest. So, but 2.5 stars. It's a decent match as an opener. It gets everyone in. I mean, you know, it's not the greatest opening in the world. It's not as good as Lager Braze from Brooklyn. Second matchup on the card was the Tag Team Titles Fatal 4-Way Tag Match. The New Day taking on the PTP, taking on the Lucha Dragons, taking on the Los Matadors. You could tell from watching this matchup they were really focusing on the primetime players and the New Day, and that's probably a good thing. They are probably the 2 better teams from a character level. I mean, the Los Matadors and the Lucha Dragons don't have much character. I just think that the Lucha Dragons are just much more entertaining than the PTP. The New Day were very entertaining. They came out and did like a rendition of New York, but New Day. It was really smart, to be honest. Give them a lot of credit for it. The match is what you expected. I mean, these Fatal 4-Way Tag matches, we're having them so frequently now, and they're still staying fresh, so I'll give them credit for that. But again, I mean, like, it was a decent match, again. I mean, but the thing is, I felt like SummerSlam needed more quality really early on to hit home. And while these matches were decent, they just didn't hit home as, you know, they didn't hit a home run like NXT did last night, well, on Saturday night. In the end, the primetime players, well, after I'll just talk about, we get all the obvious spots and stuff. Fernando hit a backstabber on Titus O'Neil. We had Big E spear Darren Young out the ring. I always find that spear impressive. It really does impress me. But in the end, Titus hits Clash of the Titus, which I know I've been calling it Wrath of the Titus for the last 2 pay-per-views. It's actually Clash of the Titus. He hits Clash of the Titus on Fernando, I think. And then Kofi comes in, kicks Titus in the head, because apparently he got a quick tag, which was a really smart finish, actually. And pins Fernando for the win, and the New Day are 2-time tag champs, which I'm fine with. I prefer the New Day to the primetime players. I just don't think they should keep switching the belts because it kind of devalues the title, the point of having it. I gave them 2 3/4 stars. I think they did a good job, a very entertaining job. It was better than the opener, and I personally would have probably had that as the opener, mainly because it's a very fun, entertaining matchup. and you're going to enjoy it. You know, it's not a technical masterpiece, but it's fun and entertaining. So 2 3/4 stars is a fair grade, I think. Next match up, and I'm actually thinking of changing my grade on this one. Rusev versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm 0-2 in predictions, by the way, at this point. Rusev and Dolph Ziggler, with, of course, Summer Rae and Lana in their corner. Lana now sporting a more casual outfit. Well, yeah, it's not a suit anymore, it's more of a casual outfit. She looked fine. Summer Rae still looking like Lana, basically, well, old Lana. Rusev and Ziggler, I'll give them credit. They have some good chemistry, but it wasn't used to its fullest effect in this match, and I do think that it really should have been. This, to me, would have been one of the better matches of the show. And in the end, it turned out being, you know, mainly just above average, with some quality near the beginning and near the end. Well, not near the end, sorry. And, you know, there was some good stuff, some kicks, etc. Rusev gave him a kick in the stomach, put him in the accolade, which Rusev broke himself because outside of the ring, Summer Rae had just been slapped by Lana. So Dolph Ziggler didn't break the accolade like John Cena did. Rusev broke it himself. Then, of course, the action spills out of the ring. There's some stuff outside. Dolph Ziggler hits after Lana gets taken down by Summer Rae. Dolph Ziggler hits Rusev with a super kick and can't beat the count of 10. And I can't believe that they ended it. It ended with a double count out. I never saw that finish coming, and because nobody wanted it. That doesn't make sense as a finish. That probably means the feud's going to get another month or two, which I think this should have been the end, to be honest. This also just put me at 0-3 in predictions, which I did make up for towards the end of the night, so I had a pretty good night in the end. Well, no, it was average to above average in the end. But I do think that this was a stupid finish. And on revising my grade, I think I'm going to change it to 2.5 stars. I originally gave it 3, but I'm going to change it to 2.5. It would have been 3 if the ending wasn't awful, and the fact that there was a few endings on this pay-per-view that are questionable, and I use that because questionable. 2.5 stars though. It was decent when they were doing it well, but the ending really did sort of, like, what the hell. We move on to Neville and Stephen Amell taking on Stardust and King Barrett, the Cosmic King. And, okay, let's talk about the obvious thing we have to talk about. Celebrities in WWE, you can either be hit or miss. You can get some that are really good, like Floyd Mayweather, or you can get snooky. So, how was Stephen Amell? Actually, he's probably one of the better ones. He was really good. Some of his stuff was, I mean, his arm drag was pretty cool. His enziguri was pretty good. His suicide dive out of the ring from the top rope. Well, it's not a suicide dive. It's just a jump out off the top rope on Barrett and Stardust was good, even though he nearly missed. He kind of nearly overshot it. But, of course, in the end, Neville and Stephen Amell pick up the victory. Neville giving King Barrett, who is pinned on pay-per-view again, after the Red Arrow. In the end, I gave this one 3 stars. I was entertained. This is probably the best match of the show so far. I think that this was exactly what it needed to be, and Amell was very impressive, so give him credit there. I just don't think Barrett should have been in this match. He didn't need to be. Alright, next up we have the only piece of turd, really, on the event. The only piece of, like, real garbage on the event that I think was really a bad match. Because the others, you know, while some of them are boring, they still had some entertainment and some qualities. This one, there is a Big Show and Ryback for the Intercontinental title. Like, this should have happened at Battleground, and of course it didn't because Ryback had a staph infection. And the build for this was just, like, I don't care. I really don't. I was talking to a friend again while we were watching the pay-per-view, and he said to me, I honestly can't. I don't care. I really don't care. And I was the same. I watched it, but I didn't care. I wasn't too entertained. I'll give him credit. It was better than I thought it'd be. I gave it 1.5 stars, and in the end, Ryback wins after giving a Big Show. Well, first of all, I'll give him credit because there was a lot of, like, false finishes in this match. Miz hit a skull-crushing finale, and Ryback, he kicked out after Ryback had actually hit a shell shock on Big Show. But in the end, Ryback wins after he gives Big Show a meet-up clothesline out of the ring, and then pins him after Big Show knocked Miz out with a WMD. So 1.5 stars. Ryback is still the Intercontinental Champion. 1.5 stars. It just wasn't very good, to be honest. The real black spot on the show, to be honest. It just, you know, that put my predictions at 2-3, so I'm making them back. The Wyatt family versus The Shield, and I've shortened it to that because it's what it basically is. Very fast-paced. Definitely the best match up to this point. They did very, very well to get everybody in. We all liked the feud. I do think they could have done better with more time. It could have been an absolute classic. But it was still very good for what it was. Roman Reigns was isolated very early on and actually took out, which actually got a Roman sleeping chant, which was funny. Ambrose took most of the punishment, which made him look like a champ, so I like it. And in the end, Reigns and Ambrose win after a dirty deeds and then a spear to Bray Wyatt. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think it was very entertaining. I do think it could have been a classic if they'd been given more time. But for what it was, 3.5 stars, very good match, very entertained. Next up, we have title for title, Cena and Seth Rollins. Rollins sporting a white attire. Okay, I actually kind of liked it, to be honest. Rollins actually uses the moves of 4 former world champions in this matchup, as he uses an AA from John Cena, Triple H's pedigree, Eddie Guerrero's frog splash, and the figure 4, even though he actually reverses the figure 4, so he still used it in the end. This matchup was by far the match of the night. I definitely knew this was going to be. Rollins and Cena just have so much chemistry. They hit their moves. Cena got a springboard stunner in. Rollins kicked out of an AA from Cena. Cena kicked out of an AA, a frog splash, and a turnbuckle powerbomb, which Rollins nearly botched the sunset flip into the turnbuckle powerbomb, but he got it fine in the end. After Cena went for a top rope AA. This was a very entertaining matchup. Cena hit a sick top rope leg drop on Rollins. Awesome match. However, the ending hurts it, and that's actually why I put it down a grade. In the end, Cena, the referee, is inadvertently knocked out by John Cena when he goes for an AA and then hits it, and then there's no referee to count the fall. Jon Stewart comes out with a steel chair, and I wish it wasn't so obvious that Jon Stewart was going to hit John Cena, but it just was. Like, literally standing there, and he's turning towards Cena, getting ready to hit him. And I'm just like, that's poor on... I don't know if that's Stewart's fault, well, it kind of is, or Cena's fault. Maybe Cena didn't get up quick enough. I'd assume it's probably Jon Stewart's fault. But Jon Stewart hits John Cena with the chair, throws the chair nearly out of the ring, and then forgets that Seth Rollins has to pedigree him on the chair, and then gets the chair back, and Rollins gives him a pedigree on the chair. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is the, I'm going to call it the unified WWE United States Champion. In what was a great matchup. I could have given it 4.5 stars if the ending wasn't so questionable. But I give it 4.25 in the end. It was a clear match of the night, and the one that really stole the show. And while it didn't steal the weekend, obviously, it definitely stole the show. Where they're going to go with Rollins from here, I have no idea. I guess we'll find out on Raw tonight. After that, we had the Divas, and this was a very solid Divas match, of course. You had Team PCB, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky, the name that is still terrible. Team Bella, Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, and Nikki Bella. It's weird that I said Nikki Bella last. And Team Bad, Beautiful, and Dangerous, Sasha Banks, Naomi, and Tamina. Team Bad being eliminated first is questionable. I mean, maybe they should have been last because they had Sasha Banks in their team. But I get the fact that in the end, the winners are Team PCB after Becky hits a Bexplex on Brie Bella. So she doesn't pin Nikki, she pins Brie. And about 15 minutes, it was a solid Divas match. I have to give them a lot of credit. Compared to Brooklyn's Divas match, no. But it's a very solid Divas match. It's probably one of the best Divas matches on pay-per-view this year. Yeah, still. But, you know, they did the obvious stuff, the outside dives. There was a lot of those sort of spots where they all, you know, jump on each other, etc., which was expected. And, you know, it was what I expected. It was a solid Divas match. Team PCB picked up the victory, and the right person in Becky Lynch got the win with the Bexplex, which is probably going to be a finisher now. which is annoying because I do like the disarm her. So I hope she keeps that. Second to last match on the card, and can we firstly say that having Cesaro and Owens booked right before the main event was great, because that shows how important this match was, and it delivered. It delivered what I wanted. Was it quite as good as it could have been? No, but they still had a really solid matchup. Cesaro and Owens did exactly what you thought they would. It was very fast-paced, very quick out the blocks. You had Owens, taunting, and Owens is just such a great heel. You had Cesaro being sort of like Superman, kicking out a lot of stuff. But in the end, after a top rope fisherman suplex, which is, Owens hits one of those, Cesaro went for the neutralizer a few times but can never hit it, but hit a ton of uppercuts. And I do have to say that the super kick that Kevin Owens hits on Cesaro was as flush as you can actually probably hit a super kick, so a lot of credit there. But the ending comes when Kevin Owens hits a fisherman suplex off the top rope and then a pop-up powerbomb. Kevin Owens finally, after like 4 pay-per-views of not winning, and I'm counting Beast in the East, gets a victory. Thank Christ, because he lost at Money in the Bank, lost at Battleground, lost at Beast in the East, and lost at NXT Brooklyn. Owens was in 2 of the best matches of the weekend. I gave them 4 stars. I really do think they had a great match. They didn't quite steal the show because Rollins and Cena did, but it was still a great matchup, and it's definitely worth checking out. The main event, the one we've all been waiting for, apparently. Brock Lesnar versus, I was going to say John Cena for some reason, Undertaker. Alright, okay. I think this was actually very good. I think that it was miles better than the WrestleMania 30 match. And Undertaker looked so much better. And for those people who don't like Brock Lesnar hitting a billion suplexes, he hit like 4, so you can't complain. There was a lot of stuff in this matchup that was... The word epic is what I'm going to label this matchup, because it was really epic. It wasn't a technical masterpiece. It wasn't the best match of the night, but it just felt epic. Everything from the entrance, from Lesnar attacking Undertaker before he even gets his coat off, it just felt epic. The F5 through the announce table just felt epic. The crowd were more into this match than any other on the show, and it deserved it. It was very entertaining, and it was epic. I know I've said that a few times now, but that's the word I'm going to label it with. I think that the outcome, does it satisfy everyone? I mean, I feel satisfied from a certain standpoint, but then I look at it and I'm like, no. Let's just run through what happened. Lesnar kicked out of a tombstone and a chokeslam and then a last ride. Well, he didn't actually kick out of a chokeslam, he kicked out of the last ride. He broke out of a Hell's Gate. And he also hit Undertaker with a second F5, which Undertaker kicked out of. The finish comes when Lesnar locks in a Kimura lock on the Undertaker. And, okay. So, he's got the Kimura lock locked in, and the referee notices that Brock Lesnar's shoulders are to the mat. So, in doing what a good referee should, Charles Robinson adjusts his positioning and counts a fall on Lesnar. While he counts a 1 count, Lesnar gets his shoulders up after 1, the Undertaker is on the other side, tapping out. Now, and then the bell rings. Firstly, the referee couldn't see this. So how could the ring keeper? Look at it like this. If this is Lesnar Taker, this is Taker, so Taker would be tapping at this side. The referee's here. The bell keeper is over here. So how is he seeing... How is he seeing Undertaker tap out? So, as Charles Robinson is dealing with the bell keeper, Lesnar gives Taker gives Lesnar a big low blow, locks him in the Hell's Gate. Defiant as ever, Brock Lesnar gives him the middle finger, and which I thought was great, and passes out. The Undertaker wins the matchup, but in very controversial fashion. And we're going to get this from Paul Heyman for probably the next year, that Undertaker didn't win because he tapped out. And while it isn't on record, it's an Undertaker victory. While it isn't on record, Undertaker, he did tap out. He tapped out, and even the announcers, the face announcers, so Cole and King, who, to be honest, really should have been voting for Lesnar because he's the face in this matchup. And I'm not saying that because I'm a big Lesnar fan. I'm a big fan of both. I think that this was like choosing, this was like choosing for me. This was like choosing who's your favourite child. I love both. The face commentators even said Lesnar had a valid point because Undertaker does tap out. And again, as I've just said, while it isn't on record that Undertaker tapped out, Undertaker tapped out. He tapped out. While he didn't tap out against Kurt Angle and he didn't tap out against CM Punk, he taps out here. And it's ironic to me that Lesnar doesn't tap out when he loses and Taker taps out when he wins. Now, as a fan, how satisfied am I with the finish? I can't even decide. I look at it like this. Lesnar looked really, really strong because he didn't tap out, and Taker got the victory, so he gets some redemption. But, and this is a big but, the finish looks weak on Undertaker's part because he had to beat him with a low blow. He had to cheat to win. And it looks weak for Lesnar because he lost, basically. Lesnar losing just makes him look weak, to be honest. And while my prediction was Undertaker, of course, won. So yeah, that puts me at 6-4 in my predictions. I gave the match 3.5 stars. I was thoroughly entertained. I just think the ending does sort of hurt it a little bit. My overall grade for SummerSlam 2015 was a 7 out of 10. It was a good show, and please don't get this wrong. I think it was underwhelming, but that doesn't mean I think it was a bad show. I think it was a good show in the end that had some great matches. It had one, real turd, and one match that I thought was kind of boring. But there is quality here, and it is a recommendation. But, and again I'm saying but, in comparison to the developmental NXT Brooklyn show, this can't touch it. This, oh my god, SummerSlam was shown up by these guys. And it does slightly annoy me that some of the talent on this show didn't even try to be better than the Brooklyn guys. Rollins and Cena, they tried. Cesaro and Owens, they tried. Lesnar and Taker, they tried. But some of them just didn't even attempt. It just seemed like Orton and Sheamus were going out there and doing another Orton Sheamus match. And while, again, it's not bad, it's just not spectacular. I gave it 2.5 stars, just remember that. So 7 out of 10 was a good show. It wasn't Brooklyn, but I guess it's because in a few years' time, if I look back on this, I might think it's better. But at this moment in time, SummerSlam 2015, to me, is remembered as the show that followed NXT Brooklyn. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been my SummerSlam 2015 review. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. This has been Revolver Ocelot.